Hello, this is Tea with Druids, number 197. This is Penny Billington introducing Tea with Druids. And I see that there are some people who've come already. That's wonderful. As always, I'd be glad to be reassured that you can hear me, but I'm sure that I'll be getting some messages on the comments if you can't. And this Tea with Druids is called In Praise of the Season. Praise is one of the themes, the season is the other. So we'll wait for 1 minute while we share our tea. I've actually got cardamom coffee tonight. Oh, Kai from Germany, Jackie, Rachel, Parsival, John, Don from Montana, wonderful. Good, plenty of people arriving. So let's get straight on with our theme. The theme, the praise of the seasons. Whether we're in the southern hemisphere or in the northern, whether it's spring for us or autumn, late spring or late autumn, it becomes apparent at the moment we step out the door that nature does not deal in solid colours. If you look at these pictures behind me, we've got the gorse, we've got beech woods, we've got the sunset, we've got green trees here, not one solid colour. And I've got some show and tell here from the leaves that I can't resist picking up. I think I'm going to make a leaf crown or masks or something out of these when I've dried them. I mean, why did they fall from the tree still so green? Look at that, that's perfect. Yet it fell and there wasn't a great wind to make it blow off. Look at these golden, brindled colours. Everything in nature this autumn is multicoloured, party-coloured, piebald, skewbald, pied as we would call it. A couple more here because the plains are mostly red, are mostly green and gold, and then occasionally they throw up one like their relatives, the acers and the sycamores, that is far redder. Everyone is unique. Everyone is a joy. So it's a pity to take them down, really, isn't it? Let's put those down. Here is a poem that praises things that are dappled, things that are more than one colour. And while I read it, you might think of something that you love in nature that's more than one colour. Perhaps the graduation of colour in the opening of a bud, or a particular flower whose heart is such a fiery, strong, vibrant colour compared to the paleness of its outer petals. Perhaps your dog or cat with its brindled fur. Here's the poem. Glory be to God for dappled things, for skies of couple colour as a brinded cow, for rose males all in stipple upon trout that swim, fresh fire cold chestnut falls, finches' wings, landscape plotted and pieced, fold, fallow and plough, and all trades their gear and tackle and trim. All things counter, original, spare, strange, whatever is fickle, freckled, who knows how, with swift, slow, sweet, sour, a dazzle dim. He fathers forth whose beauty is past change. Praise him. Now this is from a mystic Christian poet called Gerard Manley Hopkins, and obviously it's for saying praise the Christian God who made the whole world. We can all of us join in saying let us praise the natural world and nature. They're coming in. Catherine from Stockport, Melinda, Celine. The iridescence of a black shiny feather, says Pat. Yes, if you look at a magpie, the magpie with its blue and black and white, all these myriads of colours, they're absolutely beautiful, aren't they? So it's our job to watch and to witness and to praise these things in the world. I've just finished a level 2 workshop, a weekend workshop with some fantastic OBOD participants. And one of the things we had to do was to look and observe closely. And we were in the middle of town, in the middle of Glastonbury, a small market town. And everyone went out at lunchtime and found 10 things that were symbolic of Druidry in the middle of the town centre. The importance of dappledness, you'll see I've got my dappled scarf on, and the importance of noticing it is it reminds us that there is beauty in every season, and that means that there's beauty in every season of our lives. Some of us are in the autumn of our lives, some of us are in the spring, and one would automatically say some of us lucky ones are in the spring, but that's not the case. Not the case. Everyone is lucky to be in whatever season of their life they are, and every season shows us the beauty that is around for us to take hold of in our lives. So I like to think as we get older, the dappledness of the falling leaves and so on reminds us that the solid drive of making our way in the world, those times are just gentling out into myriad colours of balancing our time, balancing our leisure with our work, balancing our responsibilities with the things that give us genuine pleasure and which excite our creativity. All those things become easier for us as we get older. And one thing, I don't know where I read it, some of you might have read it. In looking at a leaf, one thinks, it's so beautiful and it's dying, because the tree in some wonderful chemical way has cut off the process of its joining and absorbing nutrients and sending them back down as well, and therefore the connection's gone and it falls off the tree. I read a completely different interpretation. What does a leaf do all its life? A leaf is a factory worker. It's working in this wonderful food factory to produce food for its parent tree. It's just a component part of a huge factory that takes and stores sunlight. It's a brilliant thing to do, but it never gets a day off, and it doesn't get minimum wage, and it doesn't get any perks apart from expressing its being perfectly. But then autumn comes and its job is over. This little leaf's job is over. It's got its Lifetime Achievement Award. And the thing that I read was perhaps when it drops from the tree, what it's doing is flying free. Flying free and expressing its being in a totally different way, and going from making food to falling on the forest floor to being nurturing and warming the earth, sheltering the little insects and animals, and eventually becoming food itself, food for the earth. Quite a wonderful interpretation, I think. So it's our job to witness and praise. Why? Well, we were talking about in the level 2 workshop about communicating with the book of learning from the book of nature and communicating with nature. And I've said this before, the most obvious way of learning from nature is to actually get stuck in the middle of a park and the heavens open and you get soaked to the skin. And you don't do it too often before you learn to look at the clouds and learn from the book of nature and predict what the weather's likely to be and take your umbrella. That's the most mundane form of learning from nature. Getting soaked to the skin is a very good lesson, but there are many, many others. And when we learn these lessons from nature, simple, practical lessons, I don't know, what might they be? Don't try and get through a thorn bush without asking it first, asking for permission and asking that you won't get prickled. That might be one. Don't run through the forest after dark. There you are, there's a nice life lesson for you. Once you learn not to run in the forest after dark, because you undoubtedly will eventually trip over. Once you learn to look up at the sky to see what the weather's going to be like. Once you learn to look at a tree and see where the moss is growing and work out where north is, or look at the sky and work out from the position of the sun where east is, so you don't need your compass. Once you learn those simple practical things, the close looking they encourages you to see beyond the everyday wonder of nature, which goodness knows is enough for us, and into the spirit and the heart of it. Okay, so that's what we were doing. But the point that I made to the students was, we're the ones with the voices. We're the ones with this wonderful voice box, this larynx, this quality of being able to articulate in the most sophisticated way, or in the simplest possible way, just with a bzzz like the bees, or all the way up to singing great arias. We can do any of this stuff. If we have developed this gift of language, then surely it is our job to use it to praise what we see. And that, of course, is what the poet was doing there. Of course, we can communicate without actually ever literally saying hello to a tree, though it's a nice thing to do. Because every time we go into nature, our whole bodies are communicating, whether our minds are aware of it or not. With every breath we take, our bodies, our senses are responding to the different qualities of the air, of park or of woodland, of desert, of forest, of perhaps icy terrain, or swamp. Our bodies respond automatically to the sights, the smells, the tastes that we taste in our mouth. And we do taste it. You only have to go to the seashore for it to be immediately apparent that you taste salt on your lips. But everywhere we go, there are subtler tastes that we are imbibing. There are subtler smells. We know all the science that's been done. So, of course, if we're communicating in this way with our body, why wouldn't we also communicate with our mouths as well? Why wouldn't we make communication in exactly the same way that we do with another human being? Here's a lovely comment. I love the change in the colour of a fox's fur as it sheds its summer coat and grows its winter coat. And I'm sure anyone who keeps animals will notice that change. I wonder where you are to see that change in the fox's coat so clearly. Here's someone who touches and talks to the trees. I love to get soaked to the skin, says Anne. I love the rain. I know I'm crazy. I love crazy. So do I, Anne. Because I love it because your comment is joyous. If crazy is joyous, we love crazy. When we look with close attention, this gives us an intimacy with nature. An intimacy that Dylan Thomas's father felt, not with nature, but with God. He was obviously a Christian as well. And the story is that he could be seen raising his fist at the sky and saying, "Rain here again, blast you!" to the God who made the rainfall. We don't have to do that. But it does argue that he had a very intimate nature with the divine, that he could get so cross with God for making it rain. We want to develop this intimacy because when we get intimate enough to be cross with a holly if it scratches us and say, blow you, what are you thinking of? Or cross with, or at the same time that we're amazed with a butterfly or whatever. These are extremes of emotional response that argue that we are intimate with nature, that we are completely at home in our world. And that's a very joyous position to be in, isn't it? Oh, I thought so. Yes, I'm really happy to be here. Joe and Salix and Ben and all these people. I'm really happy to be with you. So I'm going to praise this moment now. I praise the spirit of loving community. I praise the mystery of technology, lightning bolt harnessed for computer use, and love spread across the ether by modern magic. There you go, there's my praise for the moment. I thought of I did think of a better one for the trees, but I'll read someone else's first before we have a meditation when we can go to and praise the things in our grove together. This is about learning. What does nature have to teach us? This is called Spells by James Reeves, and here are some of the lessons or some of the messages from the world, from the natural world. I dance and dance without any feet. This is the spell of the ripening wheat. With never a tongue, I've a tale to tell. This is what the meadow grass tells. I give you health without any fee. This is the spell of the apple tree. I rhyme and riddle without any book. This is the spell of the babbling brook. Without in my legs, I run forever. This is the spell of the mighty river. I fall forever and not at all. This is the spell of the waterfall. Without a voice, I roar aloud. This is the spell of the thundercloud. I can cheat strangers with never a word. This is the voice of the cuckoo bird. We have tongues in plenty, but speak no names. This is the song of the fiery flames. The creaking door has a spell to riddle. I play a tune without any fiddle. When we sit down with nature, these are the messages that we might get. What will we next get when we sit between the roots of an oak tree or a yew tree, or when we sit in the gateway, a farm gateway, and just look out at a field of growing wheat or corn? Who knows? We have to be there. We have to be ready to witness and notice, and then we have to just relax and see what comes. Switch off the head, switch off on the heart and the appreciative emotions, and see what happens. The ancient Celts, some of the first poems we have are praise poems, are noticing of the natural world. Here's something from Dafydd ap Gwilym, whose nature poems are usually related to beautiful places where you can take a lovely girl. This is the Birchwood Bower. The happy birchwood is a good place to wait for my day-bright girl. A place of quick paths, green tracks of lovely colour, with a well of shining leaves on the fine boughs, a sheltered place for my gold-clad lady of fine boughs, a lawful place for the thrush, a lovely place on the hillside, a place of green treetops. So Dafydd ap Gwilym has got a beautiful place for his courting activity, usually in May. Praise is ancient in the written word, and I think it behooves us to carry it on. So I think that will probably do, because I think it might be time we went to our grove and praised something in our grove. This will be your chance to praise something. And then tomorrow, no, I'll suggest what to do tomorrow when we've had our meditation. Let's just settle down, if you would like to. We're going to go to a beautiful grove, and we're going to admire it. Everyone loves being admired. I don't think I've ever met the person called Jemima here, but I'd like to say, Jemima, you are a beautiful person. And I hope that she's smiling to hear me say that. Everyone loves to be praised. So let us take 3 breaths and go and praise our grove, one with the deep and fruitful earth beneath us. One with the sky high above us, with the birds of the season calling, whatever season we're in, and one breath with the green sea all around us. And let us allow those deep breaths as we breathe them out to bring us into a state of inner awareness, ourselves and our companions, as we allow ourselves to sink inwards and find ourselves in a dimly lit grove with the trees of our locality, whether they're the field maple or the eucalyptus, the high pine, the ancient oak, whether they're cacti, whatever we find there that makes our grove. This is the grove where we feel at home, where we feel we know the inhabitants, the trees and the shrubs and the grasses and the little animals. We know them quite intimately. We have learned their stories through books and through nature as children. We feel completely at home. Just stand or sit with soft eyes, looking round your grove, and know that your whole body is responding to being here, the place of your true abiding, your inner home. What makes you feel so relaxed here? Is it knowing the shape of all the leaves? If so, praise them. Is it the tall, arching boughs? Is it the huge trunks or spindly growth that delineates the space in which you feel so safe? Praise it. Praise it for its colour, for its texture as you stroke it, for its feeling and its smell. I praise this tree, strength of its roots, solidity of its trunk, grace of its boughs, beauty of its foliage. Praise it in your own words. If you see a small mammal scuttling through your grove, praise it. The white tip of the fox as it frisks away into the forest. The movement of the vole under the leaves, scuttling. And then sit by the trunk of a tree or a chair if you have it in your grove, wherever you will be completely comfortable. Because by time travel, the next few minutes will encompass some weeks in the grove as we praise the moon, as it's been praised in the Highlands and Islands of Scotland. And was written down in Victorian times. The traditional folk practice is to hail the new moon. But by Druid magic, we are going to look up and see the new moon, and then the full moon, and the waning moon, and the old moon, each beautiful in their time, as every season is beautiful in its time. So as night deepens, breathe with your grove. Listen to the rustle of the leaves. Hear the mysterious sounds of the night. And see the crescent of a new moon appear. Hail to thee, thou new moon, guiding jewel of gentleness. I am bending to thee my knee. I am offering thee my love. I am bending to thee my knee. I am giving thee my hand. I am lifting to thine mine eyes. O growing moon of the seasons. And the moon sails across the sky, growing visibly now until she becomes full. Hail to thee, thou full moon, joyful maiden of my love. Hail to thee, thou full moon, joyful maiden, lady of the graces. Thou art travelling in thy course. Thou art steering the full tides. And as we lazily look, the moon begins to diminish in size and become the waning moon. Thou art travelling in thy course. Thou art steering the full tides. Thou art illumining it to us, thy face, O waning moon of the seasons. And as we look, the moon becomes thinner and thinner until it is the waning crescent. Thou queen maiden of guidance, thou queen maiden of good fortune, thou queen maiden, my beloved, thou moon of all the seasons. And we're looking up into a starlit sky, breathing with the earth beneath us and the sky above us and our grove all around us. And the sensations are taken deep into our heart for our rest and relaxation. And we stand and we bow to the trees. And we blow a kiss to the dark sky. And we love our world, and we love our lives, and we love where we are in our lives as we feel the need to move gently, breathe more deeply, allow the image of the grove to fade like mist in a morning meadow, and open your eyes and smile at your computer screen and know that we are smiling back at you. Okay, so that was our meditation. This every time I try to post something on Facebook at the moment, I'm being told that I've contravened their spam regulations. So I'll tell you now that this book is called New Moon of the Seasons, Prayers from the Highlands and Islands, which were collected by Alexander Carmichael in the late Victorian age. So Alexander Carmichael is the name to Google if you want to know more about him. Right, I've lost the piece of paper, but I did say I was going to make a suggestion as to what you might like to do if you're praising. What is it? It's somewhere. Oh, yes. These people in the Highlands and Islands had a praise poem for everything. Now, we don't need to praise something in a poem, in a written or a rhyming way, but why not just notice and praise your household tasks? I don't say you should praise the washing up, that's going a bit far, but you might notice the bubbles and praise the bubbles, and even praise the sponge that makes it a bit easier for you. Remember, people used to use the harsh weed horsetail to scrub their pans. It was much more difficult in those times. And why don't we just praise the morning every time we wake up? Look out the window. I praise the day, and I greet the sun and the trees. Or if we live in the middle of the town, I greet the sky and the clouds above all our tall buildings. I greet the weeds in the pavement, and I ask for a blessing on my day. Try that for a week. Try it for a month. Write down each one, and you'll have a month of little greetings. And you can look back and see what you think of your own work. Being creative, that's the important thing, and being joyful. So, joyful and creative community of people, thank you very much for your attention. I will look forward to reading all these comments, but we've discovered it's become more and more difficult to answer them. So do believe that every one of them is valued and read and enjoyed and appreciated. But for now, I've kept you quite long enough, so good night. There's probably a near full moon out there for us all to enjoy. Enjoy the rest of your evening or your day if you're on the other side of the world. And I look forward to seeing you again soon. And next week, I believe it will be Roma Johnson, a very well-liked speaker on Tea with Druid. So we look forward to seeing her then. But for now, good night.